Hi, and thanks for joining. My name is Patty, and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I have a blog, pspapercrafts.com. I have a Facebook page. I have all kinds of stuff. So if you want to visit any of those, I'd appreciate it. Today I'm going to show you how to make this card, and I'm using the Jar of Flowers bundle. It's a stamp set, and it comes with this great mason jar punch. And I'm also using the shaker domes. So those are pretty cool. Those come in a box of 10, and they're just a little box, and they actually have adhesive on them. So you just pull one off, and I'll show you how to do this. And there's adhesive actually here and here. So it's pretty cool. It helps you to keep all of your little glitter or whatever you put in there. So this reminds me of, you know, when you get a vase of flowers and you put those little green gems or balls or whatever they are. This reminds me of that, so I thought that was cool. So let's get started. I have all my pieces cut. I'm also using this Tasteful Textiles, the 3D embossing folder, just to give it some texture here, and I love this. I'm going to use this a lot. I'm going to actually emboss it, and then I'll punch this out, and then I'll have actually a mason jar that's embossed that I'll use for another project. So I have my pieces. The first thing I'm going to do is get my piece of mossy meadow, and I will emboss it with this embossing folder. Now this is one of the 3D. It's kind of thick, and Stampin' Up! Has a 3D embossing folder plate that you can use. Although they're coming out with their new emboss and die kit, and I'm not sure all the new plating, it's not available yet. So things may change with that. But for right now, that's what I'm using. And here's my Big Shot. So I'm really looking forward to the new kit. This is an old Big Shot, and I'm ready for an update. So it'll be nice to get that new machine. So I'm just going to put the folder down. I have it open. I have nothing underneath it. There's no plate, and you just would feed it through. And I'm going to do it slow so I don't shake you guys too much. And I usually go through and then back again. So we'll go through and then back again. And I really love this. It's just full of texture. That taste of texture, there's a whole suite with papers, and it's really beautiful. I love it. All right, let's put that aside. So that was step number 1. We're going to, this is my background, this is my card base, and then what we'll do is we'll punch out about where we want this to be. So I had it in the center, but I wanted to leave room for the sentiment. So I'm just going to eyeball it, and the way these punches work is they lock. So this locks it, and then you just push it to unlock it. And I always like to feed it from the back because you can't really see what you're doing in the front. So I'm going to just get an idea of how far down. So I'm looking over here to see how far down, and I'm just going to move it here. Again, it's a little bit of guesswork. So hopefully that's good. So I will use this for something else. I actually have a card on my blog tomorrow, and I'm using this in Highland Heather. I loved the way it looked, and it went with the card that I wanted to make. So that's it punched out. So let's put that aside. And we also want to punch one that we can stamp, and then we're going to do an extra one. I'm going to show you how I use this from this punch. I made my own little label for my tag. So we're going to punch this out, and actually before I punch it out, let me stamp it. I'm getting a little bit out of step here. So I'm stamping the mason jar, and let me just tell you about these stamps before we get started. These are the ones that are reversible. So this and this, this and this, this and this. You have the front side that gives you this image, and then the back side, if you wanted to just flip over the stamp, you can get like a background to it, so you can get a color for it. I'm not doing that. I'm using this one and this one. for today. So let's get that going. I have the mason jar and I'm using smoky slate ink, and I'm just going to put it down there, and then I'm using seaside spray for the water. For some reason I really like this look, and I want to stamp off first. So it's called second generation stamping, and and I'm actually, sorry, I'm actually using the back. So this is the front, and it has these lines. I'm using the reverse side, which is just smooth. So second generation stamping is you're just getting the first layer of ink and getting it on a piece of scrap, and then you're going to get a lighter color on this. And I didn't want that dark color, I wanted this light color. And then let's put this away. We'll be doing the stems. So for the stems, I'm using Mossy Meadow ink, and there is a kind of a flat part, that's the ridge, and I'm going to go right up against the top of the jar, kind of the bottom of the lip. Let me just, I may be out of sight for you, but I need to make sure I'm seeing it there. So that gives you those. And then let's do our flowers. And the flowers I actually stamped in basic black, or memento. I'm really tongue twisted today. Memento ink, because I'm going to color them with the Stampin' blends, and you need to use the Memento ink. They are the alcohol blends, alcohol markers. So you need to make sure, and I'm doing it this way because it looks like I didn't get the middle very well. So I want to make sure I get all the pieces. So when I looked at it, I could tell that I didn't have a good image for the middle. So this one I'm going to cut out, and let's get this punched out. So I'll just feed it in here and make sure there's a little bit of white around the whole thing, and punch that out. We'll put that aside. And then this one I'll fussy cut out, and I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch me do this, but I'm just going to cut around it to just get it easier to maneuver. And this isn't bad to fussy cut, and I'm leaving a little bit of white edge around it. Okay, so I'll just take a look at it and see if anything needs to be. Sometimes I have a little bit of a point on them, but I think that that looks good. And it doesn't have to be perfect. So we have that done. I have to color these in now. I'm going to color the stems in, and I'm using the Stampin' blends. So as I said, they're alcohol markers. So let me do the stems first, and I'm going to use the blunt point instead of the thicker point for all of this because it's kind of tight. And I'll speed this up as well so you don't have to watch all of this coloring. Okay, so let me just tell you the colors. So the daffodils are in Daffodil Delight Dark, and then these little blue flowers are the dark Seaside Spray. The red is Poppy Parade Dark, and then this little bit of orange is Light Pumpkin Pie. And then I did use both of the Mossy Meadows for the stems, and then for some of the leaves in there. And sometimes it's hard, actually, I see a place. Sometimes it's hard to see where it's supposed to be the end of the a flower and the greenery and what should be white, but it doesn't really matter. So let's get this put together, and I'll just show you some tricks for this. So with this one, you'll want to get this. You want to make sure this is in the right place when you put down your jar. So you want to get this kind of just where you want it. And then I'm going to put some adhesive on the jar and put that down. And then we'll be able to put the shaker on top of it. Okay, so I'm just going to put the adhesive down and put it in here. And then I'll lift this up. So the jar is now in the right location. And then we want to get our piece here, and this will go up here. So we can actually attach it to this one. So we're just going to get the top adhesive off, and let me just pull this up with a scissor. And it just comes right up. Very easy. Sorry, had to stop it for a second. Bailey was barking at the mailman. So I took the top layer of sticky off, and I want to just place this down and get it all stuck down right. Now this is important because you don't want any of the stuff that you put in there to move around, so that you want it really to stay within the jar. So it's nice that they do that. We used to do it by cutting it around ourselves, right? So it's nice that they came out with that. So this is how this will go. Now we want to get, there's these flowers for every season gems, and I'm putting them in, and I'm just going to lay them on top of here. And they're a green and a clear, and they look like water, and I don't know, the one side of the green is very green, but the other side is this pretty kind of crystally look. So you just want to gather these in here. And I think I want to put a few more in than I put in the last one. And you don't want to fill it too much, but I love that they have the domes all set up for you. And you can't put them in there because then you'd never flip it. I mean, there might be some way of doing it, but I don't know. It's better to be safe. And I want to put some adhesive on this so that when I put it down, it's down all the way. So I'll just, and I like to use my liquid glue when I'm doing something like this because it's very rough. And there's a lot of kind of bumps, I call them nooks and crannies, that you want to make sure your adhesive is in. And then this actually, I probably should have taken this off first. This actually comes off as well. There's a piece of adhesive stuck to the back of this to really secure it well. So let's just take that off. And then we want to just turn this around. Don't want to get glue on my fingers. And put it in place. And I just have this little rim of white just to make it pop off the green. So there you have it. Isn't that cool? Now for the, well, let me put this on first. This I put on with dimensionals. And this is a very tall flower bouquet. And I could actually, let me just cut it down a little bit more. So you can cut this down as much as you want if it's too big for your card. I feel like it's pretty tall though. So I'm just going to put some dimensionals all around this. And we'll take the backings off. And then we can put this down. Just press it down. For the sentiment label, I wanted to get kind of the same shape as this. So what I did was I punched out another jar. And then using a Post-it note, I just put that on top, actually on the bottom, and then I'll feed this in and get that kind of same shape that the bottom is. And you want to make sure that you're lining up side by side so it's not like wonky. And I think I'm going to go a little bit further. So now I have, let me just get that piece out and take this as the Post-it note. Whoops. So now I have this, it's kind of the same shape. So I thought I could do a punch or a die or something else, and then I thought, well, let me try it. It's always good to try things, right? Play with it a little bit. So I'm using black Memento ink. I just got some on there. I'm all thumbs here. And on the inside, and so let me just tell you, the sentiment that I'm using is the Peaceful Moments, and this has great sentiment. It's always good to have just a stamp set full of sentiments. So I'm using the Wishing You Every Happiness This Special Day Will Bring. So I already have my inside done with the coloring. It's the same thing I did out here. I just stamped it and colored it the same way. So I figured you didn't need to see me do that. So I'm going to do the inside sentiment, and I just want to make sure it looks good here. Upside down, and I even looked at it. Isn't that funny? Okay, let's try it again. Okay, that looks good, and I'm going to put it up a little bit high. There's not a lot of room for writing in here, but I think sometimes it's nice to just have a good sentiment and just a little bit of a note. So let's finish this. I also have a piece, I thought it looked a little, I don't know, funny without anything here. So I took 3 pieces of my Whisper White linen thread, or I guess it's called baker's twine. And I'm just going to cut that. I want 3 strips of it because I want it to be nice and thick. So 3 of them will make a bow. And just kind of fix it. Let me do that again. That's better. More even. I probably could have made it longer. I like to have a long tails on these kinds of things. Okay, I think that looks good. And I'm going to put this down just with a glue dot, and that will stick pretty good here. I'll just take one off and put it on the back here and stick it on the jar. I just think that really kind of finishes it off nice. And then we'll put some dimensionals on this and pop it up. And we can put our whole card down on the card base and put the inside in. This is really fun though. I love shaker cards, and I love that you can get the pieces to make it without cutting your own. We used to have to cut our own shapes and get the adhesive, buy the thicker adhesive, the foam strips, and cut around to make sure they went around. It's nice that this is just really goes tight right around what the image is. So let's put this down on here, and let me get my liquid glue. It's pretty tight, but it's okay. I thought it might be too big. I thought, oh no, I didn't cut it right, but we're good. See how the white just kind of makes it pop a little bit? I like that look. And then we'll put this on the inside with a little glue. You hear it shake? Now, I don't think you could put this through the mail in a regular envelope for regular postage. I think you would need to either just put it in a package that you're giving someone in person, or maybe in a box that you're mailing with a gift or something like that. But I think it's really cute and fun. And thanks for joining me, and come back and see my next video. Take care. Bye.